Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lesia Pagarella, and today is my guest, Rory Pazzolo. He's a fashion artist and he supports Ukraine. Today we will talk about his journey and why he likes Ukraine so much while facing misunderstandings. Hi Rory, thank you for agreeing to this interview.
Of course.
Let's start from the beginning. So you are not from Vancouver.
No.
So you were born in Victoria.
That's correct, yeah.
And I know that you lived in a farm with your parents.
Yeah.
And you didn't go to school physically. You had a homeschool studying, right?
For a while, yeah. I went, so originally, I'm going to start from the very beginning.
Yes.
Originally, I was in Waldorf school, like a Montessori, and we learned respect, kindness, basic human decency, that sort of thing, along with, math and sciences and things like that. And then I went into the elementary school system, the public school system, I should say, and it was challenging. It was quite challenging for me as someone with ADHD. I found it very hard to learn, but I was also very good at learning when I was interested in the subject, right? And at some point, my parents decided that they were going to homeschool us. So we were raised for my grade 5, 6 year, I believe. It was only 2 years, but we were homeschooled, and we learned a lot of natural stuff, like what grows among us, what sort of ways we can exist with nature, how we can feed off of the land, etc. Useful things, but not necessarily school things. And we got pushed back into the system for grade 7, my grade 7 year, and that's a whole other story. That's where all the crazy stuff happens.
Do you like better go physically to school, or do you like better staying at home and learn subjects at home? It's
very difficult to quantify. I didn't have a lot of friends when we homeschooled. I had a couple of very close guy friends who were my close guy friends. I had a couple close gal friends, and we all saw each other frequently. My girlfriends that I hung out with were from when I was in elementary school. We made friends. We became close. We're still friends to this day. They're very lovely people. And my guy friends, we've known each other since we were like 2 or 3 years old, so very young. But we've always been close. So I would say that it was lonely and that you didn't socialize with many other people. But I got very close with my family and was much connected within my own community, but my local community as opposed to all the students. Less bullying though.
You want to be connected with people, but these people not always can connect with you, right? And want to connect you and accept you.
Correct. Yes. I would say in the past, school was challenging for that. I mean, kids are. I'm still terrified of youths to this day. When I see kids on the train, I'm always like, be cautious. The teenagers are ruthless. But I would. Well, I've always been the way I am.
So you always wore something extravagant, something something bright, like this, right?
Yeah.
So you always wore
to a degree. I would say, so when I was, I want to say 8 or 7.
8 or 7.
Or 9 maybe. I said to my mom, I want to wear a skirt to school. And her and my dad said, well, you can do that. You're absolutely allowed to do that. You can do that. You can express yourself. And they warned me. They said, you might be bullied just because kids aren't as accepting as some adults are, and definitely not as accepting as your family, because my family is very accepting, which is amazing.
Perfect.
But they warned me. They said, you might get bullied. And I was like, okay, I'm willing to take that risk. And this is a grade 4 or 3 or something like that. And I went to school and I got bullied. Haha, joke's on me, I got bullied. But since I was warned about it, I think it didn't take it so hard.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, oh, whatever. And I grew up with my sister. So we spent a lot of time playing dolls or existing around the house. We played dress up so much. I loved playing dress up. And still to this day, I love playing dress up. But we existed in this judgment-free zone. So when I came back to school and I was in this judgment zone, I feel like it was very shocking in a way. And like, especially when I came back in grade 7 after homeschooling for so long, I was kind of re-pushed back into that space, and I really hid. And it was at that point I learned like what being gay was, and I learned that it was kind of a bad thing in a lot of ways to other kids. And so then I internalized that, and I didn't come out for like 2 years or a year and a half after I got back to school. But I knew, I think I knew in myself. It's not like it was a secret. Everybody in my family was like, this one is a little, you know. So I feel like it was not a surprise when I came out to anybody.
Do you remember when it started? When you first time in your life felt that, you know, you want to wear dresses, you're...
That's a great question. I was young, for sure. Like I was 6, 7, 5, maybe even younger. I used to always love Halloween. I used to always love dressing up. I used to love, again, we had a tickle trunk. So a tickle trunk is like the box with all the goodies.
Okay.
And I used to just jump in there and pull out a feather boa and pull out a big skirt and a dress and run around and have fun. And one of my favorite things about fabrics, about fashion, is the movement. Like, I love to spin. And so like I'll wear like a big circle skirt and I'll spin. And I used to do the same thing when I was a kid. I used to love like the flouncy, light, soft fabrics that move around, that are very comfortable. Men don't have comfortable clothes.
And you said your parents were pretty accepted.
Very accepting.
Yeah.
Very
And,
accepting, yeah. My grandparents too.
And do you remember the day you told before, right?
Yeah.
So you decided to first time in your life wear a skirt to the school.
Yeah.
Do you remember the day? What the skirt was it? Did you create it yourself, or you brought from your sister?
It was the tickle trunk for sure. And it was probably, if I had to guess, thrifted. If I remember correctly, it was mid-length and very soft. That would be my best recollection of it. I was 7. I don't even remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday, so it's a loose memory, but I remember the feeling of it.
How did you feel?
I felt free. Like, I would say free is always my goal. I think society tries to put us into boxes, and especially like, we're very close to the US, and they have a very particular idea of what it means to be a human and what it means to be a man or a woman, and you have to be either super masculine or super feminine. But then as soon as you're masculine, for example, in body, like I am, and I try to be feminine, it's seen as an inherent loss of status, because there's a lot of status at play with male, female, whatever. There's this whole thing. I don't believe in that myself, but it does still affect me, even though I don't actively like believe in it existing per se. It is culturally present. So like when I wear a dress, people see it as me being more feminine, being more of a woman. Therefore, I should be more feminine myself. But since I'm masculine, people find it very, very hard to deal with. So like, that's where I think the issue comes from. It's people's own discomfort. And I think it comes from their own discomfort of not being able to express themselves as they want.
Exactly.
Right? Because like at the end of the day, I don't care if somebody wears sweatpants and a t-shirt and Crocs. Good on you. You feel comfortable? Love it. Just don't tell me what to wear. Don't tell me what to put on my body, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all playing dress up. Every day we get up, we do our makeup, we shower, we shave, we don't shave, whatever. It's all in preparation to look like how we want to look, regardless of what that looks like, you know?
So let's go back to the day.
Yeah.
The first day. So you came into the classroom wearing the skirt.
Yes.
What was the first reaction of the teacher, of your classmates?
That's a great question. I actually don't remember. I just remember the general feeling of the day was that I got bullied.
You got bullied.
But I would imagine that my teacher would shut down those things, because I had very good teachers growing up. Like I loved all of my teachers. I had one teacher, I'm not sure if this was the same year, but I had a teacher named Linda that I named every single snail that I ever found after her. Every snail in my life. I don't know why I loved calling snails Linda, but I had this thing where I was like, this is Linda, my snail. Hello, crow. Oh, cute. But yeah, I always had good teachers. They were always very supportive of me. They were always very protective of me. A couple of my like high school teachers became sort of like mama bears to me. So like I still talk to them. I still visit my old high school. I go and give them big hugs and say, hi, I've missed you, and all that sort of stuff. So I think that they've left a very good lasting impression on me. The students, I don't know many people from my grade 4 class anymore. So ancient history at this point. But I think that if I met them now, they'd probably be more accepting than they were as children, because I think children imprint a lot of what their parents believe, or what their religion tells them, or what society tells them, or they just laugh because their friends laugh. But I don't think people have, like, you don't have the developed part of your brain yet where you can think so independently. So there is a bit of a herd mentality with children that I think comes into play, and especially when it comes to that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't have many memories of the actual day in my memory logs.
But after this first day, did you continue wearing dresses and skirts, or you decided like to postpone it?
I didn't go butch, if that's what you're asking, but like I definitely like, I pulled back a bit. I wasn't so public about it. And then I think it was in my grade 8 or grade 9 year. I'd finished grade 7. Grade 7 was horrible. I got bullied very badly for being gay. I was fresh out of homeschooling. You're not going to believe this, but I smelled terrible because I didn't know what deodorant was, because I lived on a farm and was homeschooled and was existing around my sister, my mom, and my dad, and they're not going to be like, you're stanky. But a kid, the first thing that they're going to point out if you have a bit of sweat is you're stinky. So that was kind of what I got called a lot when I was younger. I still have a thing about smelling bad. So I was like, okay. And like I got bullied for being gay, and I got bullied for being fat. I got bullied for pretty much everything. And that was a really bad year when we moved up island from Victoria to Cumberland. Small town, 3,000 people, very, very close-knit community, old coal mining town. I would say that there was a mixture of very accepting people and very not accepting people. Sort of both. It's a very mixed town. It's very cute though. I like it a lot. But when I moved to that school, I said, I'm going to make a new start. And my new start was kind of based in hiding, but also just being like the cool new kid. And it worked for like half the year. And then I got bullied badly again. And people were still calling me gay, blah, 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 yada, yada. So at some point I owned it. And I said, you know what? They're going to call me gay regardless. I may as well just be open about this. So I told everyone. I told my mom, I told my dad, I told my grandparents, almost all my grandparents. My grandfather had Alzheimer's, so I didn't tell him because he wouldn't have remembered it anyway. But I told most everyone in my family, and they all kind of knew anyway. But yeah, I feel like it wasn't a surprise for sure. But like at that point, I kind of said, fuck it, you know what, I'm gonna wear what I want. And I started wearing skirts again. I wasn't initially sewing them myself. What I was doing was I was going to the thrift store and buying a skirt and putting it on and being like, that looks cute, nice. My roommate, my best friend and roommate, Sunny, Yelizaveta, always jokes with me that I have a body that fits anything. So I can like throw on a trash bag and be like, it's fashion, because I've belted it with something. And she goes, you can wear anything, stop that. So I find it quite funny because when I went thrift store shopping, I could find this frumpy old whatever and put it on and be like, I feel glamour. And I think clothing isn't just what you're wearing. It isn't just it isn't just like the fabric type. It isn't just the cut. It isn't just the style. It is the way you wear it, the confidence you carry when you wear something, right? Like you can own anything you wear as long as you've got confidence with it. And I know myself very much. So like, I'm not afraid to wear whatever because I know that I'm going to wear it well. So, yeah, I would say, what was the question again? Sorry, I segue like crazy. I tend to.
How did you deal with all this bullying? Who supported you? What helped you to hold on, not to give up?
Great question. What helped me with the bullying? Well, so counseling for one. I did a lot of counseling, especially later in life, like more now I've started doing more counseling and dealing with things and talking things through. But when I was young, it used to be my parents, of course, who were supportive. My best friend, I'd have a little tete-a-tete or a little bitch fest with my friend. Her and I, we would. She lived 2 houses down, so like if anything happened, I'd be like, "You're not gonna believe what happened today. Here's the story. Let's talk." And I think talking about issues that happen is very important when you're processing things. And I think it's especially important when you're processing things as a young person, because we're kind of on our own sometimes. But yeah, I'd say I had friends after I came out. That was very helpful for like staying healthy and keeping myself motivated, let's say. I also did a lot of extracurriculars. My parents tried to get me into soccer. I don't really do soccer. I also am half blind, so I don't have good depth perception. So playing sports was kind of off the docket. But I did improv theater. I did musical theater. I did choir, dance, pretty much anything performance arts that I could get my hand on. I have terrifying stage fright. Like I really don't like being in front of a crowd, but I really enjoyed doing those things. I think because it was a form of community. Like being in those spaces is community in itself. And then also, I think a lot of that community is very accepting and artsy, and that's kind of where I came from, right? Like artsy background, growing up on a farm, homeschooled, always loved art, used to draw a lot.
So that's why you decided to become a fashion artist.
Correct. Yes. Well, actually, I didn't even think of it as a career path at all, ever, until grade 12. And like I started, or maybe it was grade 11, I was doing all my theater. I thought, I'm going to be an actor. That's what I'm going to do, because that's a career that I can take, because I can take an acting class in school. And I think at some point, I think my dad and I went to Italy. Yeah, we went to Milan and Torino to visit family. That's where my family's from. And we visited, and my family was like, "You look so good. What are you wearing?" And I was wearing some stuff that I'd made, because I didn't want to look like everybody else back in the day. Like I was like, I don't want to go and then accidentally, like my worst fear is walking past somebody and wearing the same thing as them. You know, like we have the same jacket. Like, because it just feels like I don't want to be a clone of anyone else. So I'm like, I got to wear different things, which is hence why I make my own clothing and why I make it all very unique and different, so it doesn't look like something that anyone else owns. Like, I want it to be me only. Maybe me only. Maybe someone else too. But like, I think for the most part, where was I going with this?
So you decided to be a fashion
yes,
artist.
that's right. So we went to Italy. My family was like, "You're very talented at this. You should get into fashion." And I thought, that's not a bad idea. But I also am aware that fashion is the second most damaging industry on the planet. It has a massive ecological footprint, and growing up among nature, I was like, I don't really like that vibe. I don't want to enable something that is so damaging. So I had a hard think, and I thought, what am I going to do to make this possible for me? And I decided that my fashion inspiration would come from nature, and my fabrics would come from the thrift store, and I would make it more affordable for myself, but also make it more one of a kind, because you're not going to find the same fabrics from the thrift store as you are from a store on, you know, like the big fabric depots or whatever. So I feel like for the most part, I said, I'm going to just give back to the planet instead. I'm going to take things that are being thrown away, and I'm going to make something beautiful, and I'm going to bring it into the world, and it's going to be a one-of-a-kind piece that's going to make people smile. It's going to bring a little bit of joy. We need whimsy, you know?
That's really nice that you think about planet. You know, and you think about sustainable fashion, and so you kind of like bring something, remake and make something new.
Absolutely.
And not make a damage to the planet.
Yeah.
But how was your study? Did you go to the, like, how does it call it?
College.
College.
Yeah.
how was there?
Good.
Probably people there are more acceptable, right?
Very much, yeah.
Really?
It was really cool actually. Well, so I had a bit of trouble. I loved my school. I was there for 2 years in Ottawa. 2 years. I was there for 2 years in Ottawa, and I was in a very small school. Like it was very niche. It was haute couture sewing, so it was all hand stitching, hand finishing. All of the drafting was done on paper. It was very of the 60s, 70s.
Old school, little
Old
bit.
school,
Right?
exactly. Yeah, so we learned like the techniques to create garments that were more polished than if we were doing them industrial, or like I didn't, for example, learn things like AutoCAD or programs that are modern where you can just throw in a couple of measurements and it makes a shirt for you and then you send it off to some print shop in Bangladesh. No, it was more like you take this dress, you draft the pattern, you take the measurements, you use your angle measure for a specific like angle to get the degree of the curve of a hip or of the arm, or for the sleeve if you're making like a billowy sleeve or something. So it was quite technical. I'm not very good at technical things, but I am good at puzzles. And when you think about clothing, clothing is just a puzzle. It's just a puzzle that you put together and it comes together 3D. But it is a puzzle. But I found it very fun. My colleagues were all amazing. Like all of my classmates were incredible. I loved spending time with them. I felt very accepted, very welcomed. Whenever I presented an idea, it was met with feedback, but positive feedback. And people were very encouraging. I mean, in fashion school, you can do anything. Like, you're not really held down by rules. Like, and this is something that I sort of pushed back against the administration a little bit. I think I was a problem student because I was a very good student and I worked fast and I did good work, but the program was designed for female bodies. And I wanted to design for all bodies, and also particularly for male bodies that wanted to wear cool dresses and things. So when we were doing fashion sketching, for example, I pushed back and I said, can I draw men? And they were like, no. And I was like, can I draw men, please? And they were like, well, you're drawing men in the third year. You get to draw men in the third year or the second year or whatever it was. And I was like, but I'm only first year, but I don't plan to do only women's sketches. I would like to be able to learn to draw men earlier. So my teacher actually, she was amazing. Veronique Boulot was her name. She was a very talented sketch artist and designer. But she worked with me and we created this book, this second book that I printed and bound and had as my copy of the sketching books, so that I had references so that I could do the same drawings as everyone else, but with male bodies instead, which was quite fun. But I've always been a pusher. I've always been pushing against those boundaries and sort of making people think.
But fashion, it's not your job, right?
No.
So you don't get money from it.
Sometimes.
So
but not really.
do you create this outfits just for yourself or for somebody else?
Oh, well,
Or
I
you
create
take
it for everybody.
For everybody.
But for myself, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because everybody enjoys this. Everybody gets a little sample, but I get to bring it home. So at the end of the day, I do make them mostly for myself. I have made some things for like friends or family, and occasionally, like I've taken commissions in the past, but the problem with commissions for me is it kind of takes the joy out of it. Because so much of it is like, I know myself so well that I can make myself something very easily, and I know I would wear that or I won't wear that. But when I make something for someone else, there runs the risk that you're going to make something really beautiful, and for yourself it's very beautiful and you'd wear it, but then they look at it and they go, oh, that's short, or oh, I don't like that fabric, or oh, I don't like that color, or like so many different things that people can look at a garment and go, oh, I don't know if I like that, like a cut of something or whatever. And of course you consult with someone before you make them something custom. But even then, sometimes people are very specific. And I like people being specific. I love it. Like, I think be specific, but I'm not the person for that. Because I'm very, especially when I sew. When I sew, I'm very free. Sunny always laughs at me because when I sew, it's like a bomb goes off in my room. There's just fabric everywhere. I'm like, I have decided that I'm going to just scatter random scraps of fabric places. There's trims, there's thread, there's needles. Sometimes I lay down in my bed. Last night, actually, I laid down in my bed to go to sleep and laid on my pair of scissors and went, oh, there's scissors there. So it's a bit chaotic. And the way that I create is also kind of chaotic. So it doesn't always culminate in a finished product that looks like what people are asking for. And so I find it challenging to create for other people. However, I have done it. Like I have some friends, my childhood best friends from Victoria. I made them matching coats. When I was younger, I was like, I'm gonna make you some coats, and they love them still. They still wear them, which is very sweet. And I made them some dresses, and I've also made my ex Lucas. I made him a coat that matched a coat I had. So we had these matching pink coats with floral lining. They were beautiful, absolutely stunning coats.
You have lots of different outfits because, you know, for the viewers, we used to live in the same area. And I've seen you many times at this park, at Walmart, I don't know, and every time you are wearing something different, but every time it's, you know, like a big hats, like this, colorful. So you probably, I think you need lots of space to kind of like save.
I'm just really good at hiding things.
Okay.
I have one of those like IKEA like Klanax units or whatever, like the ones with all the cubbies, and I fold everything all there, and all my fabric and all of my garments are on there, and then I have a closet that I have all of my clothing, and then on my walls I have my hats. So they're all hung up on the walls, which is quite nice. I find it good decoration because each one's an art piece, right? So I feel like for the most part fabric squishes nicely, like it compacts well. But I'm always creating new things. It's so much fun. But
in real life, in your everyday life, when you go to the Walmart, I don't know, stores,
like this.
You wear like this. You never wear like pants or
I
just
do
plain
sometimes.
skirt, you know, not that colorful. Without like any, you know, additional.
Once in a while I do. It's quite funny when I do. People don't recognize me. So like the other day I went to the Save On Foods at King George to go get myself. I was making a salad and I needed some ingredients for the salad. So I got on my bike and I was wearing red bicycle shorts or like red like workout shorts and a tank top and a helmet. No earrings, no makeup, no fancy dress, no heels. I had biking shoes on. I looked like a man. I was like, huh, I'm a man. So I biked up from Scott Road and I got to the grocery store. I did my shopping and then I saw someone I knew and I was like, hey, how are you? And they looked at me like, what the fuck?
Who are you?
Who are you? And then they were like, oh, it's you. Hey. And I was like, haha. So yeah, it's kind of funny because I think people get really, really used to seeing me like this. And even if I wear something new, they still recognize the silhouette, they still recognize the color, they still recognize that is something not most people would wear. So I am quite recognizable that way. But when I wear sweatpants and a t-shirt, which if you ask Sunny, I wear sweatpants and a t-shirt pretty much every day at home. Like it's my lazy garment. As soon as I leave the house, though, it's different. I'll dress up a bit, unless I'm in a real rush or I don't really care for that day or whatever. But yeah. You also were asking about fashion influences, which takes me back to Ukraine/Europe.
Okay.
Interesting segue, I know, but I have followed the Eurovision Song Contest since 2012, majorly.
It's so unusually actually for Canada, right?
Yes,
so, because
we
in
don't
Canada,
talk about it much.
No one watch Eurovision.
No.
So how did you find out about this and when did you start watching it?
I think the first introduction to Eurovision was, I believe, the song Euphoria by Loreen, which won in 2012. A classic song, a beautiful song.
Everyone remembers it.
Yes, and it was either her or Alexander Rybak with Fairy Tale that kind of got me into it. And I've heard those songs millions of times and was like, this is good music. I like this. And North American music is very overplayed. We listen to it a lot. Canadian music, very good. I have 1,000 Canadian songs that I love and listen to and have listened to since I was a child, because we have programs here where the radio has to play a certain amount of Canadian content. So we do listen to Canadian content, which is great. But when I was younger, I was like, I want to listen to something more upbeat, fun, cool, gay, And then I found Eurovision. I was like, this is upbeat, cool, fun, gay. Oh, these are all the things. So I was like, this is amazing. And I would say like Europe wasn't really on the map for me, apart from France, Italy, the UK, Spain, sort of Western Europe, I guess I would say it was like on the map. It was like Western Europe and Russia, because they have a massive fucking power when it comes to broadcasting shit. So, and also the Cold War thing, the US with Russia being all aggressive, you kind of get an idea of the global whatever. Ukraine wasn't on my map for a very long time, until I would say like my high school years. And then I discovered Verka Serduchka. And Verka Serduchka is an
Eurovision.
icon from Eurovision, yes, an icon, and an absolute style icon too. Like when I look at the way Verka dresses, I think, wow, that's what really made me go, be bold, be big, have fun. I would say that I never thought, oh, I'll go to Ukraine. Just like I never thought, oh, I'll go to Kazakhstan, or oh, I'll go to Afghanistan, or I'll go to Norway. It was sort of, it was existing.
Somewhere else.
It was existing, but I've always thought of it as a sovereign country, because it is. It's a sovereign nation. It's not part of Russia, not part of whatever. It's its own place, and it's very distinct and unique. However, I didn't know just how unique and different it has been until I've met Sunny.
Sunny, it's your friend from Ukraine.
Yeah.
She's from Crimea.
Yeah.
And you met here
Sevastopol.
in Sevastopol, and
Yeah.
you met here in Vancouver, in
Yeah,
Surrey.
we actually met right in front of our apartment, which is kind of funny. We she was walking her dog Snoop, and we were both wearing orange. I remember I was wearing a big orange coat and a skirt, and she was wearing orange like track pants and a nice hoodie, and we like looked at each other and we went, oh, that's fun. And she had orange hair at the time. She had like this very fun orange sort of coiffed hair. And so we were like, oh, hey, that's cool, love your outfit. And so we kind of like started talking, and then she mentioned she was from Crimea and that she was here as a refugee. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Well, congratulations for making it here. And we chatted, and then we switched Instagrams, and we did the Vancouver thing, which you may know, it's the classic Vancouver. Oh, let's hang out sometime. Yeah. Oh, let's do it. That's so great. But I said it to a European, and Europeans take you seriously for that.
Yeah.
So she texted me a month or two later and was like, I'm going to the art gallery. Come with. And I am an impromptu Canadian who's kind of crazy and is like, I'm going to just not be like my brethren, and I'm going to just do the thing. I'm going to be crazy. Let's go. So we went to the art gallery, us and a couple of friends, and it was really fun. It was really good. And since then, we've been basically at the hip.
Best friends.
Yeah, best friends. And I've learned so much from her. Almost no Ukrainian. I've been trying to learn Ukrainian because when I was younger, I started learning Russian because I thought this is a decently useful language.
It's a big country.
It's a big country. I thought, well, I love the architecture of Eastern Europe in general, like the buildings with the tall, beautiful roofs and colorful, and it feels very like intentional. I feel like a lot of West Coast design is very glass and steel, and in Eastern Europe you see like these beautiful churches and these beautiful old buildings that have so much history. And so I always found that fascinating, and so I started learning Russian like language, and then now it's stuck in my head. It's very annoying because like when I try to speak Ukrainian, it's there, and so I have to like switch myself. But I have learned some useful Ukrainian phrases.
So basically, Sunny was the person who introduced you Ukrainian culture.
Yes.
And then you're passionate about Ukraine,
Yeah.
right? So you started supporting Ukraine.
Yeah.
So that's why we met,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
where we met.
Yeah.
So we met with you on a training, right?
Yeah.
Like a handcraft
Yeah,
training.
that's right. During the was it felting or no? It was the it was with
Tanya Znak.
with Tanya Znak. Yeah.
Yes.
It would have been in New West, and it was, I think it was the felting workshop.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we were felting the necklaces or the necklaces.
That's where I first first met you there, and I was surprised that you are a Canadian. You don't understand like pretty much like what we are talking about, but you came and you were so interested in what we are doing, and then the next time I met you in Westminster,
Yeah,
you
at the Hayek parade.
at the Hayek Festival,
Yeah.
and yeah, I noticed that you supported Ukraine even
Yeah.
though no one talked to you at that day.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
and also it's just what I noticed. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
I noticed that you and your friend Sunny told me that you support Ukraine. You try to help, wherever way you can help to Ukrainian, its culture. You
Yeah.
learn about it a lot. You try to learn language, but Ukrainian community here, it's not pretty acceptable.
I'd say, well, so for me, I've met a lot of really lovely Ukrainians in Canada, especially. I think because people who move to Canada know what Canada's about. And I think people come here and are like, we're going to come here and we're going to emulate the culture that we're moving to. We're going to bring our culture, which I love about Canada. We're going to bring our culture,
Yes.
but we're also going to be existing in Canadian values. And there's a certain amount of acceptance and love that comes with that. However, I would say that when you've been growing up your whole life to believe that being different is wrong,
Yeah.
it can be challenging to pull from that and to get away from that. I would say with anyone, but especially like the community of Ukraine, I would say I stand by the people, before I see them as people that dislike me. Like I like with anybody, when people look at me with hate, I often look back at them and I say, you must be hurting. That must be painful, whatever you're going through that's making you hate me.
Very wise.
Yeah, like I don't hate pretty much anybody. I'd say there's a couple people that I dislike, but they're mostly like large political figures in the US that are crazy, or Russian or Israeli or
But despite all those looks
yeah,
and talks behind your back, you still
of course.
support Ukraine. You still come to the events.
Yeah.
You still do it.
Yeah.
And so to be honest, I don't believe that you just don't mind on it. So doesn't it touch you somewhere?
Well,
Don't
of
you
course, it bothers me somewhat, but not the personal, like not people. Yeah, it does irk me more as like a why does this happen in the world kind of reaction, not as much like a how dare this person do this to me kind of way. Like it's not like this person intentionally did this thing. It's like, why does the system have to be so damn controlling? Or like, why does it have to be so rigid? Like when you exist in a way that isn't expected, people do like erase you from things because they don't want to make other people uncomfortable. They don't want people who are closed-minded to then comment on things and draw attention and make them a spectacle, because people don't want to be in that. They want to exist without that. And I think especially in marginalized communities, and especially in a community that like Ukrainian people have already become refugees here, and then Canadian people as well, a lot of Canadians are anti-refugee. So then you end up, you're already in this position where you're like, I have to be here or I have to go home, which is scary. And when you're here, you're being looked at by people who are like, should you be here? Right? And there's like this judgment. And so you don't want to step on toes. You don't want to put yourself in a risky situation. You don't want to put your loved ones in a risky situation. So I'm going to just do the things. I'm going to exist. I'm going to not step on toes. I'm going to not push boundaries. I think that's very common in all marginalized communities. Like in the queer community, we do the same thing, right? We go, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't wear the pearl necklace because then it might make XYZ person on the train uncomfortable with me. Or I shouldn't wear that shade of lipstick, it's too bold. Or let's go without makeup and I'll grow my beard out so I can look more masculine, a little more rugged, so then I fit in better. I think it all comes down to the same thing. It's like an intolerance of difference. And I would say it also comes from influences of large bodies of people that want to control. Whether you're looking at Russia or you're looking at the United States, it's like we're close to, I think Canada is close to USA in a very similar way to Russia, how it used to be with Ukraine, maybe in the past. Which is interesting to think about, especially like the way one of the ways that I think about it, sorry, I'm jumping topics here a little bit, but the way I think about it, it's like, if something like that can happen in Ukraine from Russia, something like that could so easily happen here from the USA.
Actually,
and it's threatened.
More possible with Donald Trump than have ever been before.
Exactly. And like Canada has always been very close with the US, and recently we have not. And this has been a kind of startling thing for me. And so why wouldn't I stand up for a country? Why wouldn't we, as Canada, support Ukraine when they are being bulldozed and annihilated by a fucking massive country with a ton of power? And I say annihilated not in like because the Ukrainian population is fighting back incredibly well, considering the size of the country, considering the situation. And I'm so grateful that the UN and the EU and Canada and somewhat the US, but not really the US, have been supporting Ukraine, because I think at the end of the day, Russia is a very scary threat. I say this as someone who could not exist in Russia for 5 minutes because of who I am. But for me, it's an existential crisis, an existential threat. So if they were to ever take over Europe, it would make Europe unsafe for me. And it doesn't stop at Ukraine. It never will. They're going to push through Kazakhstan, through Ukraine, through Poland, they don't care. They're expansionist, they're imperialistic. It's the same thing with the US. It's just a different empire. It's the same sort of principle. The US wants Canada, they want Greenland, they want Mexico, they want Argentina, they want Chile, they want all of the Americas. That's their 150-year plan or whatever, right? And that terrifies me as a queer person in Canada, because I see what happens in the US. And I see that they are basing a lot of their policies and a lot of their decision-making and law-making off of things that have been done, for example, in Russia. They're looking at that and they're going, because Trump is, of course, a big fan of Putin. And so he sees what he does and he goes, that's smart. I like that because that's fascist. Let's do that. Follows that. And then the US people go, yay, we're free. But nobody's free. They're so much less free now than they were before. And it's so sad to see, I think, as someone coming from a country that does feel very free in a lot of ways. We're not perfect, but I think it's hard to see, and especially somewhere where you know a lot of people and care about a lot of people that are in a community that's being threatened, it can feel very scary. But I'd say that's my main fear. But I will always support Ukraine in their sovereignty and in their right to self-determination and their right to exist as they are, and especially people in Ukraine who are queer. It must be, I can't imagine, it must be challenging. It must be hard and like not maybe as bad as some other countries in Europe or in Asia, but still it's a challenge everywhere. Like it's a challenge here sometimes. And I think it's just like the percentage of times that it's a challenge versus the percentage of times that it's not. It's a higher percentage there that it's not, or sorry, that it is a challenge, whereas here it's a bit more, especially in Vancouver, we're very lucky to have a very accepting community here and to be very live and let live.
What do you like about Ukraine? What's your favorite dish, for example?
My favorite dish? Oh, okay. Sunny makes this delicious salad. And I'm not sure, so I actually don't know if I think it's technically, I don't know if it's technically Russian, but her grandparents made it. But it's rice and mayonnaise and imitation crab, canned peas, canned corn, I believe.
Yeah, it's crab salad.
Crab salad, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Delicious.
It's your favorite
so good. One of my favorites. We also recently made borscht for the first time. Not for the first time for me, because my mom makes it all the time. But
Your mom makes it?
My mom makes borscht. She always has. But from her own recipe that she has made and created, so it's quite different, but it is tasty. Like she doesn't use chunks of meat in it. She usually makes it vegetarian. So she does only veggie. But it's very tasty. So I was like, oh, we should make borscht sometime. And Sunny said, oh, I don't make borscht. And I was like, why? And she said, well, everyone has their recipe, but I don't really have a recipe because my mom makes a recipe of borscht, and it's not my favorite because it's quite spicy. It's like a weird,
Okay.
weird borscht. And I said, okay, well, why don't we make our own? We're a family, we can make our own. So we made our own recipe of borscht, and it was absolutely delicious. So we've actually invited a Ukrainian friend over for borscht making and hanging out, and it should be very fun. We're going to do that soon when Sunny's back from Montreal. Oh, and I also love going to Kozak,
It's a Ukrainian restaurant.
the
in
Ukrainian
Vancouver.
restaurant in Vancouver. I love the rambabas and also the Napoleon cake.
Yes.
Delicious. I love sweet treats. I grew up in a bakery family. Like we have had a bakery for almost 50 years now. Almost 50 years. 1978. So yeah, 45 years. So pastries, baked goods, bread. I love that stuff.
What's your favorite Ukrainian song, if you know one?
Okay, so I have a couple.
Okay.
Songs in Ukrainian?
Yeah.
Okay, Червоні руті, I believe is the name of the song.
Yes.
Love that one. Very pretty. I was actually just talking with Sunny about that one. And there's another one. It's by Daka Braka. Do you know Daka Braka?
Yeah, I know,
Oh,
but-
okay. I was like,
yeah.
oh no, have I said some obscure band? Daka Braka. I forget the name of the song, but we went to a Daka Braka concert here in Vancouver, and I was like obsessed because like they are super cool, especially live. They're amazing.
What's your favorite Ukrainian word?
Здоровенькі були.
Здоровенькі були.
I use it all the time. It's my greeting because Sunny said it's like saying привет or like hello, but a little bit more fabulous. So it's like, okay, I like that. So it's like I'm gonna use that.
Have you thought about trying creating some like Ukrainian national clothes or something like this?
No. No. It's off the table for me because I'm not Ukrainian. I would make, like I have made a hat that was roughly like kokoshnik inspired,
Oh, it's Russian.
but it comes
Yeah.
mostly from Russia.
Yeah.
That inspiration. This is because when I was younger, I used to watch the movie Anastasia, the like not Disney, but like the Disney alternative, and I used to love the music from it, and I was just like, oh, it's so beautiful. I loved the story, blah blah blah. Like it was just a romance story for me. But I loved her tiara, which is like a kokoshnik inspired tiara. And so I was like, oh, I want to make something like that. That'd be kind of cool. So when I got into hat making, I made a kokoshnik, a very basic kokoshnik, but it was fun.
But Ukrainian clothes, no.
Ukrainian
You find
clothes,
It's very.
well, actually I own a vyshyvanka.
You have a vyshyvanka.
Yeah, Sunny bought it for me
Okay.
for my birthday from Tanya Znak.
Wow.
Handmade, it's beautiful. I wear it to all of my fancy events. Like I went to my Nonna's 80th birthday over this last weekend. I brought it with me. I like to mix it with other things. So I had a homemade skirt, very simple, just beige with like a nice floral print on it. And then the vyshyvanka that I have is gray. So it's like a dark gray. So not a traditional color because I know it's normally like an oatmeal color, but I asked specifically for it in gray because I know that I don't look good in oatmeal, and if I wear white, which is the other color, I'm going to get it dirty so fast because I am the person who drops ketchup on my shirt the second I pick it up, or I have mustard, or I have whatever. So I'm like, I'm not going to get the white. I could do black, but it looked too military for me because I was like, I'm not like, I'm Todd, I'm in the military. Like, I'm not like that. So I'm like, no, I think I prefer a gray. And Sunny was like, a gray. And Tanya was like, a gray. Are you sure? And I was like, yes, please. Gray with gold and red. And so we did like this beautiful, there's flowers down the sleeve, and then there's some at the cuff, and then there's some down the front. And it's just like a really beautiful vyshyvanka.
Do you think going to Ukraine after the war ends?
100%.
Really?
Sunny and I have plans. We are going to go to Kiev. She's going to show me around. If we get the chance, we'll go down to Crimea. We'll go to Sevastopol.
Yeah.
I want her to show me around. I want her to show me all of her old stomping grounds.
But now Crimea is occupied, so if
Now it is, but it won't be for long. That's my optimistic outlook on it. But I think it would be very cool to go to Ukraine to visit. I think if I went to Ukraine, I would have to do a lot of research on if it's safe for me to present the way I do. because I have a very short list of countries that I can travel to safely in my head. Like, I think realistically the on the street life is very different from what you see in politics. But like, I also worry because it is Eastern European and has a history of being kind of homophobic in culture.
You don't want to wear like regular sweatpants.
I don't have regular clothes.
And go to Ukraine.
No.
What if you have a choice? You wear like regular pants and sweatshirts, I don't know, t-shirt, and go to Ukraine, or you don't go, or you never go to Ukraine and you wear, you know.
I think I'd rather go to Ukraine, but wear what I like.
Okay.
But like, that's in an ideal world. I would go, I would visit, I would see the sights, but I would be on guard. I'd be like constantly checking over my shoulder, because you never know when someone's gonna just deck you.
Yeah.
Or like be rude or whatever. And I don't speak much Ukrainian, so I don't know what people are saying when they come up and speak to me. So they could be saying, hey, faggot, you're ugly and you smell like shit. And I could be like, So I would need Sunny next to me.
Yes.
Like, there's one time we were walking, I know you were going to ask about what challenges have I faced in Vancouver with being queer. I'll tell you some here, if that's okay. If we
sure.
I'll
Please.
jump there. So Canada's a very accepting country. For the most part, it's been very good, but there have been a couple of instances that kind of remind me of, it isn't perfect here, and it definitely isn't perfect everywhere, and people face this kind of stuff all the time. One of them, Sunny and I went to the Blossom Festival at David Lamb Park to take photos among the trees. We looked beautiful. I was wearing a skirt that was pink and purple, and a purple coat and a nice little hat, and I felt very good. And we walked past this guy, and he was speaking Russian into his phone. And then at one point he said, I don't know the word faggot in Russian, but he said that. And Sunny randomly turned around and was like, hey, fuck you, dude, blah, 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 in Russian. And I have not heard Sunny speak Russian very often, because she only speaks it for, like, if she's talking to someone who only speaks Russian, or like a family member or whatever, or like a work colleague. I remember she used to talk to someone in Russian, and she was always like, oh God. Or like, whatever, it's banned in the house. We don't speak Russian, we don't listen to Russian music, we don't watch Russian movies, nothing like that in the house. It's all banned. So I haven't heard it ever from her. And then randomly she turns around and she's like, hey, fuck you, dude. Like this guy who just insulted me. And I was like, ooh, because they're fighting. And I was like, I have no clue what's going on. But like, comments like that aren't uncommon. Like, people do walk past and say horrible things. Most of the time I understand them, but occasionally I don't. So, yeah, and then there was this other time I was on the train coming back from a date. I looked very cute. I was wearing a lace top. I had tassel earrings on. I had a little crocheted hat that a friend of mine made me. And I was wearing a lace skirt with like a little mini skirt underneath. It was very cute. I looked adorable. And it was summertime. It was July last year. And it was super hot. Like, I don't know if you remember July last year, but it was
horrible.
Oh, it was awful. Like, I literally was like dying. And I had to take I had to take a train and then a bus to get to Kitsilano. Because the person I was seeing for this date was like, I live in Kitsilano. You want to meet me in Kitsilano? And I was like, can we meet somewhere in the middle? And they were like, how's Kitsilano? And I was like, okay, because nobody leaves Kitsilano.
Compromise.
Nobody leaves Kitsilano when they live in Kitsilano. So I was like, okay. So I took the train, I took the bus, I met with them, and then I took the bus back and then the train back. And I was on the train back, and it was like at Granville, this guy started staring at me from like across the train, like maybe 10 feet away or like 5 meters. He was standing there, and he was looking at me really intensely, and I was like kind of uncomfortable. I was sitting in, in the train how there's like the two seats that are for disabled and elderly, and then there's the two seats behind them. I was on the window seat of this seat, so there was someone next to me, thankfully, and this guy was over by the doors. And when the train stopped at the next stop, I think it was Main Street Science World, he stepped into the train more because people were coming on, so he stepped into the train more, and then he was standing directly here, looking down, like right at me, like staring like this. And I was like sitting there, headphones in, tassel earrings, just staring ahead, going, oh, do not engage, she's staring at you, do not engage, staring at you, do not engage, staring at you. Okay, so then I pulled out a headphone, I said, can I help you? And then he yelled at me, And he said that I was a pedophile and that I was destroying lives and that I shouldn't exist like this in public and it's disgusting and I'm a sinner, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who the fuck shat in your cornflakes? Like, I'm sitting here minding my business after a date, feeling great, just vibing on the train home. And he could have stood over there and minded his business. He could have looked at me and thought, disgusting, and then turned around, like some people do. He could have just been quiet about it. And instead he started yelling at me. And at one point he said, which was shocking to me, this is the most shocking thing someone's ever said to me, like, about, like, I'm going to hurt you. He yelled, he kind of stepped further away and he started shouting at me, and I was shouting at this point, and people on the train were starting to realize that there was something going on, but nobody had really, like, spoken up about it. And he said, I'm gonna pull your intestines out through your asshole, was what he said to me, which was a very visceral image for one. But I was like, I was taken aback, I was shook. And I went, there's kids on this train. Because that's what he said to me earlier. He'd said, there's kids in this train, you shouldn't look like this, blah, blah, blah. And so I went, there's kids on this train. I felt very good about that because I was like, eat it up, honey. Take your own little comment and shove it. And then somebody had thankfully pressed like the panic, the panic strip.
Yellow strip.
Yeah, the panic strip. Like, oh. And so when we got to commercial Broadway, there were two like transit police waiting there, and they pulled him off the train, and he started shouting and kicking and yelling, and as he left the train, and I was just like, what the fuck? But nobody, like, I shouldn't say nobody, maybe there were like one or two people who were kind of like visibly agitated.
But they never...
But most people kind of just stared forward and ignored it.
Pretended they don't hear, don't listen.
Read their book. I'm not going to pay attention to that, which I think, like, this is what I've always disliked about the human condition. We don't want to make a spectacle of ourselves. And so we don't cause a fuss. We don't cause a ruckus about anything. And so the second someone stands up for themselves, it feels like, oh, someone's fighting. We can't get involved. But like, I'm the type of person, maybe I'm just very invasive in people's conversations, but if someone's fighting and I see that someone's like bullying someone else, I'll stand up and be like, that's not okay. Like this one time, I was on the train and there were these youths. It's always the youths, isn't it? And they were on one of those sites where you like scroll through and like talk to someone very briefly on video chat. And it's a dangerous place for youths to be in the first place. Like, I'm like, you are 13 years old, you should not be on that. You should not be on that site. And so inevitably they saw some guy being, as guys do on that site. And they were like, oh God, yeah, and then they were like, the next four people, they were insulting. And they were just being like, you look ugly, you've got a big nose, you're blah, 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 blah. And I was standing there and I was like, I don't know who the fuck they're talking about. The person could have the biggest nose on the planet, but I don't think they should be commenting on that and being rude about it. So I walked past them and I said, a quote that's been on my mom's fridge for years, sits on the fridge, and it says, insulting others is a dishonest way of praising yourself, or something of that nature. And so I basically said that to them. I said, you know that insulting others is basically a dishonest way of being approving of yourself. And I said, that's kind of shameful. And then I walked past them and they're like deer in headlights, like, what the fuck? But I think more people need to do that.
Have you ever cried about this, not being accepted?
Yes, many times, not around people.
Of course.
Oftentimes by myself, oftentimes, like, I've cried with Sunny about it. I've cried with my ex Lucas about it. I've cried with my parents about it. I've cried with my family about it. I feel like for the most part, I've grown up very accepted. I've been very lucky. But I wouldn't say I cry easy. Like, I don't cry easy. But I do cry. It's just not very common. I dislike when people say things like, you should have been bullied more when you were younger, which is what people have said to me online. Like, people look at me the way I dress and the way I act, and they say, you should have been bullied more because it would have made you conform more. And I was bullied a fuck ton. Like, I was bullied a lot. I almost killed myself in grade 7. Like, I went through it. And to say that, I think, is so insensitive. Because bullying's never made anybody feel better. You said you almost killed yourself. Yes, so in grade 7, I was very. You tried to do suicide? I didn't try, but I thought about it.
You thought
which was
about it.
scary enough. Like
Yes.
that's scary when you think, oh, the world is so bleak. What should I do? And I don't think I even realized that that was the thought that I had until like several years later. Like it wasn't, in that moment I was just like, oh, I hate my life. This is so horrible. I don't, like I would fake being sick to not go to school. Like in grade 7, I would fake being sick. I would walk slowly to my bus so I would miss it. Oh, whoops, I missed my bus. I don't have to go to school. But like the reality of that was that I didn't want to be around the kids.
But you know what inspires me?
What?
That despite all these looks, all these words,
Yeah.
like all these people who tell you bad things, you still continue doing what you do, wearing what you want to wear. You must be really strong,
Thank you.
to do it. Because so many people, when they face such
Yeah.
situation, they think, oh, maybe next time, maybe one day,
Yeah.
maybe I'll wear it at home. But you face like such situation pretty, I would say often, no?
Fairly often, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Often enough I know that it happens and I'm aware of it and I'm very conscious of it, but I would say like not often enough that I stop doing it. It'll take a lot for me. Like I've lived in a lot of places in Canada, like small towns, medium-sized cities, big cities, accepting cities like Vancouver, kind of more conservative cities like Ottawa, and I lived in like a very conservative neighborhood. But like in my experience, regardless of where I've been, especially in Canada, I can't speak for Europe, I can't speak for South America, I can't speak for Africa, Asia, etc., because I've never been to those areas when I was dressed like this. Mm-hmm. But in my experience, the people that I know in those places would still look at me and go, you look incredible, you look fabulous, I love what you've done with this is so cool, you made that, like that kind of reaction, as opposed to like a negative reaction. I would say that like, I'm not going to the States anytime soon. A, because I'm going to be profiled at the border. They're going to be like, can I see your phone, sir? And I'm going to be like, ugh.
You think it's going to be like this?
Oh, I think so. Because if you think about it, the Trump administration views anti-fascist people and liberals and in general people who are like the classic queer person as extremists. They see us as extremists. And so if I was to go the way I dress, if I was to go normal, I can pass as a man. I have a beard, I have a bald spot, that's why I wear hats. So like, I look like a man. And I could go then, I could travel across the border and then I could go through the States, whatever. But I don't really want to, because it's kind of scary. And they have guns, which is another incentive not to go. Keeps me away from them. Kind of nice. Because here we're safer that way.
Actually, I asked you everything I wanted to ask, but I wanted to know if there is anything else you want to share. Maybe something I didn't ask you, but you wanted to share or wanted to tell.
Well, it's been a pretty comprehensive interview. Thank you, by the way, for having me. I would say if there's one takeaway for a viewer, it's be kind. Treat others the way that you want to be treated or the way that you would like to be treated, because at the end of the day, someone else will be receiving of that better than otherwise. And it's our differences that make us beautiful. Each of us, if we were all carbon copy clones of each other, if we were all just man and woman or just, businessman or carpenter or whatever, if we all fit into those little boxes, it would be so boring. Life needs a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of fun, a little bit of zhuzh, yeah, I think that would be the takeaway, regardless of where you are. And it's slow steps. So if you're listening from Ukraine and you're queer, keep it up. You're doing great. You're strong. I believe in you. I support you.
I wanted to say thank you. Thank you, first of all, for agreeing to talk to me.
Of course.
For supporting Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Big thank for all people of Ukraine here and physically in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. It's really important to us. And even though you sometimes face some looks from Ukrainian, you have to know that most people really thankful for any kind of support.
Yes,
It's really important.
of course, and I'm going to keep bringing it.
Yeah, thank you
Always.
so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.